my name is Dr. Padilla. I'm a professor in computer science and psychology. I've been a professor for over 5 years now. Today, I wanted to give you my 4-step process for collaborating with experts. Collaboration is so important, both for your career and for the research itself, and it will help you if you're collaborating with an expert in the field. But how do you actually do that? It can be really challenging to figure out how to contact experts, how to actually get them to work with you, especially as a junior researcher. So I'm going to give you the 4 steps that have worked for me in the past, and hopefully they will work for you as well. So let's jump on in. First, let's unpack a little bit more about why you'd want to collaborate with an expert. Ideally, you would like to expand your knowledge base. So it could be the case that you are doing research that would really be useful to incorporate another person who's a more expert person in that field. That will make sure that your research is as solid as possible. I think that's a great reason to want to collaborate with an expert. Now, another reason you might want to collaborate with an expert is to strengthen your research profile. Oftentimes, you start to see these clusters of people within a field that are the top in the field, and they're all collaborating with one another. So ultimately, you want to be in that group of experts, and that will do a few things for you. One is that you will benefit from that network that the expert comes with. You might benefit from some of the prestige of working with that expert, and your research might actually get more visibility by collaborating with one of those experts. So really, there's not a ton of drawbacks. I think it's a really good thing to attempt to do, but it can be very scary for all of these kind of social reasons to get someone who's maybe a high profile person to work with you. But I've done it in the past, so I have 4 steps that I think you'll want to consider. Step 1 is actually finding the relevant expert. I think the number one way to connect with an expert is with personal connections. So you have an advisor and other people that you have already worked with. The best way to connect with an expert is to have a direct email connection where your advisor or someone else introduces you in an email, kind of a direct personal connection. That is hands down the most effective way. And what you can do is, if there's someone that you are excited about, you might want to collaborate with, you can ask your advisor or another person that you know if they're willing to do an introduction. Oftentimes, people will want to understand why you want an introduction. So my next few steps will outline the ways to structure those interactions. Another way to find and connect with experts I talk about a great deal on this channel, which is connect at conferences. Conferences can be a great way to connect with a wide range of people. So the trick will be going to a conference and looking at the conference lineup, seeing if they're giving a particular talk. Usually what you'll want to do is ask questions afterwards. You might ask to meet with them at a coffee time, something very informal, or if you just see them hanging around, strike up a conversation. When you do this, make sure that you know enough about their research to have an engaging conversation. You want to have read some of their work and have specific questions that you're ready to ask them to kind of strike up this dialogue and see if there might be an opportunity to collaborate. Now, the other way to connect with experts is by contacting them directly. This is harder, okay? This is where you send out a cold email introducing yourself and describing a bit about, what you're interested in potentially doing with them. I don't recommend this all of the time, in part because expert might be famous in the field and they're getting lots of people kind of vying for their time. So it will be harder for you to get someone to respond, but certainly this has worked for other people. So I don't want to discourage you fully from doing this, but just know that you're gonna get a lower hit rate with a cold email like this than these other techniques that I've talked about. Okay, my second step in the process is to build a meaningful collaboration. So what you want to do is you want to put some structure around it. When you're first connecting with people, you want to be really clear about the expectations. So what I like to do when I'm working with an expert is to outline what I would like to get out of the collaboration. For example, I might say, you're an expert in X, and I'm really looking forward to having you consult on this project on this particular topic that we will engage in this way in this project. The goal is to clearly define what you're hoping to get out of it, because that will let them know if they feel like engaging with you or not. That might help them decide if it is a useful application of their time or maybe not so useful. But you want to clearly identify what you're hoping to get out of that collaboration with them and how they can contribute to a collaboration. Now, with that said, you want to have appropriate expectations. They are busy, probably, and if they decide to work with you, it is for free. It's volunteer. They're not getting credit for working with you. They might get things in the end like a publication, a conference proceeding, or they might just be enjoying the collaboration, but ultimately it's not a part of their core job. So you need to have appropriate expectations. You cannot expect them to dedicate, 4 hours a week to your project. You might not even be able to expect them to attend weekly meetings. That could be a very big ask. I think a general rule of thumb for expectations is having some kind of in-depth input into the creation of the project early on, and then you go execute the more labor-intensive part of the project, and then you come to them afterwards with the results, and they help you kind of craft the narrative of a particular publication or presentation. So it's these kind of end caps of time commitment where you illustrate your commitment to the project by doing the bulk amount of work and utilizing their expertise at kind of the beginning and the end of the project. Now, in the process of building this meaningful collaboration, it is on you to learn their lingo. Oftentimes, they're going to be coming from maybe a slightly different expertise than yourself, and so there's oftentimes different language or the way they express themselves. It is on you to learn to communicate with them, not the other way around. Don't expect them to kind of pick up your area of research. What I do that can be pretty useful is if they're willing to allow you to sit in on their lab meetings, you can start to pick up on the way they think about research or discuss research, and you definitely want to read all of their papers, but you need to do some catch up in terms of learning their lingo to be able to successfully communicate with them. The last thing you want to do for building these meaningful collaborations is to determine their communication style. They might want weekly project meeting updates. They might want to just do some work at the beginning, not hear from you for 3 months, and then hear the results at the end. You need to figure out what their style is, and the way you can do this is see how they respond to you. I have some famous collaborators who respond instantaneously to emails, and some that take several weeks to respond to emails. In either case, they expect you to do what they do. So if I'm communicating with the fast responder, I respond to her as quickly as possible. For the people who need to take longer, I also have more time to kind of respond. So you try to match their communication style. Now, my third step in collaborating with experts is to maximize the collaboration. What you want to do is you want to work towards something that's mutually beneficial that they value. By and large, this means publications, conferences, and grants. So you want to be explicitly working to those things. It is less useful to be collaborating with an expert that you don't know well on an ambiguous project. You need something with a goal and a timeline that you can work towards that both of you find valuable. The trick is they will only engage in this collaboration if they're finding significant value in it. So you need to align your goals to make sure what you're getting out of it is equal to what they're getting out of it. Now, with that said, you need to make them authors on all of those things that they've contributed to. It will feel maybe a little odd if they've only contributed at the beginning, at the end, to make them an author. If you have reached out to them and you're asking them to collaborate and engage with you, you need to make them an author on the subsequent work that's produced from that, even if they do a small amount of work. It's sort of indicating that you're valuing their time, you've asked for something from them, you need to give back to them if this project actually produces something. Now, my fourth step is all about what to do after this collaboration is finished. Hopefully you've published a paper, maybe you've written a grant together. What if you're not actively doing work together? How do you actually sustain your network? And what you want to do is you have this network of people that follow you throughout your entire career. So how do you actually do that? I think what you want to do is you want to support one another's work. So anytime you see them posting or advertising new papers, new grants, any type of thing that they're announcing, go ahead and boost it in whatever social media platform that is there. You want to advertise their work for them, support them, lift them up. That might seem crazy because they're the expert, but they will notice that you're supporting them, and then they will also try to support you. The other major thing you're going to want to do is every opportunity, connect with them again. Every conference you go to, if you happen to be in the same area, anytime, meet up with them, even in casual ways. You tend to see more close collaborations form from these informal connections. So not always talking about research, but going and having dinner, catching up, having a drink somewhere, right? Learning about people and their values outside of research can help you really solidify these connections with experts and anyone else, honestly. All right, that's my 4-step process for collaborating with experts. That's what has worked for me in the past. Hopefully some of these things will work for you. And I do want to say, if you get rejected at any of these stages, don't take it personally. These people have so many individuals vying for their time. Things slip through, they're just really busy. And like I said, they are doing this fully on volunteer time, taking time away from being with their kids, watching their soccer games to collaborate with you. So if they don't decide to do that, don't take it personally. Don't feel like you're slighted at future events. Still treat them with respect at future events, and hopefully there will be time to collaborate, maybe when their schedule frees up in the future. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it useful, hit that like button and subscribe for more videos on academic success. Academia can be tough, but you don't have to go through it alone. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.